After an IMSA Vintage Classic last week at Jerez that saw a first-time winner in the GTOs and a runaway win in the GTPs, we turn to a brand new track to the series, Sachsenring. Will the drivers adapt to the challenges of this new venue, or will the classic chaos of this official series reign supreme? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 9 of the iRacing IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lundgren, and with me in the booth is Craig King. In the truck today, our directors Christian DePloy and Daniel Costello, and they're using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. From a newish track to a new track with Sachsenring, let's take a look at what makes this place tick with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Sachsenring. This former street course is one of the easternmost tracks in Germany, about an hour from the border. The modern 13-turn layout is only 3.6 kilometers, or just over 2 miles in length. But while that might sound paltry in comparison to the old 5-mile-long track on public roads, they pack a lot into this thing. The lap opens with a series of long, sweeping turns, including the Omega, which, from above, makes its nomenclature obvious. The challenge of its never-ending nature flows right into Sternquelle. The multiple, sometimes blind apexes through this section are going to be critically important since this is where the track finally starts to open up. A whopping 6 left-handers in a row are all supremely fast, but they culminate in the waterfall, leading you down into the Sachsen curve. The combination of that and the final turn of Queckenberg might offer chances to overtake, but it'll be tricky. Ideally, you'll want to set it up for the run down into turn 1 at Coca-Cola for the more ideal place to pass. Easily most known for motorcycle racing and DTM, this place is perfect for everything from GT3 class cars on down to slower touring cars and open wheelers. Drivers will often wind up dueling side by side with the constant switching back and forth in the first few corners. The gorgeous German hillsides will no doubt bring in the fans to this fantastic, nearly century-old venue.
Well, there we saw what Sachsenring looks like with some of our GT cars around here, but this is a multi-class series, Craig. How are they going to handle it?
Yeah, well, Sachsenring is a dive into the unknown for everyone. So let's look at it. Lots of elevation changes that provide a bunch of blind apexes and narrow corners, and they will really test the cars out there today. GTPs, though, they will love it around here. It's kind of like Jerez from last week, but it's got a lot of elevation changes, so it's got a lot of flowing corners that work together. But if the track's a flowing track, that means the GTOs, they will hate it here today. The middle section, that overhead view we saw at Castro Omega, that's full of mid-speed corners on the elevation change as well. That will test the Audi's throttle balance. So imagine rubbing your belly while patting your head. That's kind of what the Audis will need to do through half these corners. We talked about multiclass. No multiclass ever happens around here, so it really is an unknown track here. It's narrow. There's not a lot of spaces there for moves, so there's either going to be a lot of impatience today, or drivers will have to wait until 2 of those straights. So, really, Adam, are we calling this today a known unknown, or an unknown unknown?
Well, regardless of which known or unknown it is, one of the things we do know are the standings at the moment. And that is that Andres Valenteus actually overtook Dustin Hiroder because of his good performance, his win last week. This is every single time he's shown up this season, he has won the race. Dustin Hiroder had a bad showing, only 7 points on the day, and that drops him back 8 behind Valenteus, even though Valenteus' attendance has not been as good as Hiroder's, but those wins, they take over everything. Heitor Sintes Glinda only 5 points back of Hiroder, with Javi Del Olmo 1 point back of... The championship realistically is up for grabs for everyone. Fabian English, Seamus Power, Farron Grau, and Jacob Reed, as well as Eric Neath, round out your top 10 in the GTPs. But what about the GTOs, Craig?
Well, in the GTOs, Mickey Friesen, he did extend his lead. It doesn't look like it, but after his first victory, gaining 10 points over Van Hixie, really has started to pull away there. But the rest of the field is so close. Noah Lundberg looking to try and make some moves up, but he is not here today. Kundalis is well close there as well with Josh Brain. Again, it's the usual story in the GTO, which we love to talk about. Battles in the title and battles at the bottom of the top 10. And just a correction there, Adam. You said every time Valenteus has turned up, he has won. Well, no, he turned up twice in the GTOs this season and crashed out before the green flag in his last appearance in a GTO.
Yeah, and so that turnout. But that being said, here we are in for the race details. Round 9 of 13, rather. It's a 40-minute race with open setups, no spare vehicle, with a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25. And that's the race details for today. Their regular sprint setup. One of the things we want to talk to you about today, though, before we get to racing, is the iRacing Black Friday. 50% off all new memberships, 25% off renewals and reactivations. This runs through December 2nd, and why wouldn't you want to jump in when you've got race championships like the IMSA Vintage that you can race? You got club racing, you've got other group races, you've got special events. There's lots to talk about on the service and lots to talk about during qualifying today, Craig.
Yeah, lots to talk about as well, with new updates coming as well for iRacing, but updates in these cars and updates in the championship and the qualifying. The leaders in the GTPs have basically set their 2 laps, and it's Valenteus leading the way, and Andreas Schuster is currently leading the fray when it comes to the GTOs. In fact, with 2.5 minutes to go, there's only a handful of cars out there at the moment. One GTP still going around, which is Jorge Gonzaga, but the rest look like they are GTOs. I just saw Johan Van Hixie try one more go, but was a tenth slower than Andreas Schuster. As we see, there is Castro Omega. That is some elevation change.
Absolutely, lots of elevation change. Ove Tranger just crossing the line to finish his second lap. Only good enough for 6th position for him. So it's Schuster, Van Hixie, and Michael Yankee back and finishing up in the 3rd position with Andres Valenteus, Javier Delamo, and Ivan Platin rounding out your top 3 in the GTPs right now.
Yep, and it's the GTOs. They are just finishing. Some of the drivers now just doing some practice laps out there, like this car. A couple of these cars out there at the moment just taking some practice laps. But look at the speed and look how much runoff they've got around here. But this is Lance Simon. He won't be able to set a represented qualifying lap as this is his out lap. But just look at these elevation changes. Really gives you a great idea as he comes down to the final corner, which is the Queckenberg. As he comes around, the Queckenberg onto the start-finish line very shortly. Just goes to show what speeds they are having to do over the hill as well. It's a roller coaster here today, Adam. It is up, it is down, but it's mostly down.
Absolutely, lots of descents, and here we go with Lance Simon taking his next lap. This is the first turn. You can see just how much of a descent it is into that turn, making it really hard to make a pass there. The rest of the lap, there's not a lot of places to pass either. It's very flowing for these GTPs. A lot of high downforce setups being applied here. We're going to see the difference with those over the course of this race. That plus the dirty air, plus the fact that the tires are going to be cold to start this race, it's going to be very interesting to see if the GTPs can make it all the way. 30 seconds left to go in qualifying. Lance Simon still on his first lap. He won't be able to finish it, unfortunately. So it's going to be a tight race for those drivers. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they can make it and survive all the chaos that we've got going on today, Craig.
It is, and I tell you what, one thing that is helping the drivers here, these curves are pretty flat, so the GTPs will be able to just cut in a little bit more, which will give some space to those GTO drivers, because we do know if there's a gap, drivers will take that gap out there, so they have to be careful around here as qualifying ticks over to start the formation. I'm really curious what this could bring here. We're going to see a lot of incidents up that Castro Omega, which I constantly keep talking about.
Absolutely. So, on pole position is Andres Valenteus with Javier Delamo next to him on the outside. Ivan Platin's going to line up 3rd position on the grid with Logan Edwards in 4th. Brendan Lim lines up on row 3 with Dustin Herder next to him. Dylan Freckleton on row 4 with Jacob Reed, and Seamus Power and Matthias Hovdal round out your top 10. Aitor Sintes Galindo, not the qualifying that he wanted, is going to start off the next slide in 11th with Laust Olsen in 12th spot. Alain Breteau is going to line up in 13th next to Bjorn Ackerman on row 7. Stefan Leslie row 8 next to Matthew Cockrum. Jorge Gonzaga is going to line up row 9 next to Byron Long, and then Ben Summers and Lance Simon round out your top 20, with Lance Simon being the last driver on the grid in the GTPs and the only one not to set a qualifying lap, 20th.
Well, let's look at the GTOs as the cars start to grid up, and Andreas Schuster, he says it's kind of his home track. That explains why he's pole for a really good time today over Johan Van Hixie, who gets second with Michael Yankee returning to be in third, and Doug Cloud will be fourth. Mickey Friesen is in fifth with Ove Trengere in sixth, and then Roman Bello will be seventh. Josh Brain will be eighth for Sam Skilgard ninth, and Matthias Platt will be 10th for the first page. We have 7 more drivers out there because Emilio Giacchari will be 11th, Mark Gawak will take 12th, Forban Pollock will be unlucky 13th, Francesc Garemski will be 14th, Jamie Hamill-Smith will take 15th, Sandro Steri will be the last of the time qualifiers at 16th, with Kai Hansen last in 17th. There 17 GTOs, 20 GTPs for 40 minutes around the Sachsenring today.
Absolutely. It's going to be a very interesting race out there. And Craig, talk to me about the strategy that these drivers are going to need to employ to make the multi-class work, because this track has not historically been a multi-class track, and we've seen some incidents in the races during the week that have led us to think that this is going to be a challenge.
It's going to be quite a challenge out here today, just because those elevation changes, and like I said, the blind apexes that you'll see on some of these sighting laps right now on the formation lap, a lot of the corners you have to really trust that you're pointing the right way, which will give a lot of issues out here. The first few corners here are so tight. Yes, you can go around the outside of the GTO if you need to be in a GTP, but you have to make sure you get it done before the next set of corners. Now, we have seen also issues on that final corner, that uphill, the Queckenberg curve. Those corners there going up the hill, if you do make a mistake with gear shifting, you will just bog down, hold everybody up. So it's going to be very interesting to see. This might be one of the flattest parts of the track that the GTPs are going through right now, out of Carl Hallen and onto the flat stuff, into what is also a backup pit lane. I'm really curious, especially with this temperature. It's a cold day. Well, it's a hot day today, a 30C, 27C, 80 Fahrenheit track temp. That may also play into it. That wind, though, shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah, it's the wind shouldn't be too much of an issue today with the amount of downforce that they're running and the slow speeds through the twisty bits. The humidity very low, so not a whole lot of humidity that's going to help the tires stick to the pavement today. But that being said, it should make the tires heat up a little bit quicker as well. There we see the drop down into this short back straight, as it were, and it's not really an opportunity to make a pass into this left-hander because of the speeds that they're carrying, Craig.
No, and not only that, because you've got that speed difference. You're going downhill, you're carrying more speed, but then you're braking uphill. Here you go into the final corner. Very tough to try and find your lines on this one, and then you've got to keep it flat for the start-finish line. Going to be tough around here just on that final corner, but around the whole track here today.
Absolutely very tough, but we're about to get down, and the pace car is about to pull off, and the drivers will get going. There goes the pace car, and that releases Valenteus to be our leader. And he's waiting until the last possible moment, and he finally jumps. He beats Javier Del Olmo off the line. Even Platten gets a really good start, and it's on the inside, and so will likely take second position away from Javier Del Olmo as they go to turn one. It's 3 wide in the background with Brendan Lim trying to make a pass, but it looks like they're relatively clean through turn one.
Yeah, relatively clean through turn one, and Van Hixie tried to make the move at the start of the race in the GTO. And they're going to go side by side as Schuster and Van Hixie manages to hold on, but here comes Van Hixie with a response. Leaders are currently side by side. The back, the two behind as well, Yankee and Cloud side by side. And you can see they're still trying to go for it. The inside became the outside became the inside, and Schuster holds on to it, and so does Yankee as well. No overtakes in the top 10.
Track position is so important. The GTO drivers know this. Look at this move up the inside for Romain Bello trying to make a pass on Ove Trengere, rather the other way around. Trengere trying to make that pass on Bello. He's got the inside for the next left-hander. It's a long sweeping one as they head towards the bottom of the course here. He's still going to try and make this work up the inside, and that's going to be Van Hixie giving up the position.
Yeah, Van Hixie's going to play it safe as well. Why be aggressive this early in the race? You may lose a bit of time losing that position, but it's better to just hold on now and wait to see what happens, because otherwise mistakes will happen. Trengere now just going to have to try and pull them back in, but back to the front here, Jacob Reed really trying to make some moves early doors, not having the best of starts out here today, but again, cold tides, it's first lap, let's just wait.
And Doug Cloud just made a very late dive on Michael Yankee to get that second position away from him, so he's now got second in the GTOs. And Jorn Van Hixie putting pressure on Andreas Schuster, and he's up the inside. I believe he's going to be able to make this pass into turn 1. And is Schuster going to be a hole on the outside? No, he's not, so Van Hixie up to the lead.
Van Hixie takes that lead, and now in the important part of the track as well, because he comes into Castro Omega and he had that lead, no one side by side. Now he just gets to pull ahead. These two battling really well because of that move Doug made. These two already have a 1.5 second advantage to the rest of the field on board with Schuster. It's his home track, he claims. It is the closest track he lives to. This is really one that you feel he might be able to do well in, and already he's shown his worth. But he has now to try and get around Johan Van Hixie. That is a tough move for anybody.
Bjorn Ackerman's had a spin in the middle of the track. He's now recovering as they start to go back uphill towards the start-finish line. So he's now recovered, but at the back of the GTP field, the GTPs are about half a lap away from catching up to the back of the GTO drivers. It looks like Thorben Pollock has had an issue in the GTOs as well, as dropped him back down to 17th position as our leaders continue to circle as we ride on board with Andreas Schuster. There in the background, you see Doug Cloud. He doesn't really have the race pace. He's actually holding up the race of the drivers, even though he made that pass on Michael Yankee. Oh, look at this! There goes Doug! He's been sent out!
Yeah, did it himself. I think he just got a little bit too hot trying to take that final corner, and he just tried to turn in with too much speed. And it's four-wheel drive, but sometimes some drive just decide to say no. I can also report Lars Olsen has had a moment, and he's gone around. Again, self-inflicted spin. Almost looks like he went a bit too hot into the gravel. There's Doug. I think he realizes that's not the cool, calm, collected Doug we're used to seeing.
No, unfortunately, Doug's been flustered, and he's got some hot tires now. So does Laust Olsen. Laust made some contact with the Armco, but fortunately, it doesn't look like he's got any aero damage on the front of that machine. So Laust Olsen, now in last place, is going to have a recovery drive on his hands as we watch Doug trying to recover himself from that self-inflicted wound and get himself past Romain Bello. This is all good news for Michael Yankee, who's now only 2.2 seconds behind our two leaders. He might have the pace to catch them back up if they continue to battle.
Yeah, we'll keep eyes on the timing tower just to see. I'm really curious. The sun comes out again. Let's look at GSRC replay. And this is for Thorben Pollock earlier in the race. He's coming together with the 33 out there. And just a small mistake, sorry, the 32. And just a small mistake. That's so tough because the track, you do want to track out a little bit wide there. It's a little bit of a racing incident. Unfortunate there for Thorben.
Doug Cloud's been off the track a little bit, going onto the front straightaway as we see our two leaders still duking it out. Mickey Friesen has now passed Michael Yankee into turn 1, so that's given him an opportunity to try and get himself, our championship leader, Mickey Friesen, up to the battle for the lead, Jorn Van Hixie and Andreas Schuster. So a change of position there as Ove Trangerade now gets into the fight as well. Ove on his resurgence in this series, still getting his legs under him a little bit and getting that speed back that we used to know him for. He used to be fighting up there in the top 3 quite often in the series, and it takes a while to get going in this series if you've taken a break.
Yeah, it takes a while. It's like riding a bike. Once you get back on it, you're fine, but you don't find that pace right away. This man doesn't need to find the pace. He has the pace. He is the pace. It's Balanteas as he starts his way through the traffic. Already a 2.5 second lead to Yvon Platov, who overtook this man earlier in the race with Javier Del Olmo. They're coming through the traffic themselves right now. This is where we're going to understand what cars do. Around goes Platon, around that corner, and downhill they go to this mini back straight. Up to Sachsen curve they will hit now. No traffic at the moment, which is handy for them, but they're going to come around the corner and get to Queckenberg and just see a bunch of Audis in front, and they're going to be worried.
And Craig, here's my concern for these drivers is I'm a little bit worried about the incident points, to be honest with you, because these GTPs are likely going to have to take themselves off track to make some safe passes around the Audis over the course of this race. And I'm a little bit worried that this is going to add up over the course of these 40 minutes. We're 6 minutes, goodness, into this race so far. Don't ask me to do math on stream. And we've already seen some drivers with some decent amount of incident points. Jacob Reed here trying to put some pressure onto Dylan Freckleton. I can report Logan Edwards and Dustin Hiroder side by side just ahead.
Yeah, Freckleton getting past Lim. They're side by side. They're going to go around 3 wide, and that's very risky. Can they go 3 wide once again? They do not. Brilliant work there for Reed and Freckleton to limit Freckleton, because here's Reed getting half
wreck
slim,
behind.
and there's a big wreck behind from that one mistake there, and everyone is just bunched up, and almost in front of them, Freckleton went into the back of Matthias Platt, managed to avoid it. This is what you were talking about, Adam. This is the fear that people have got, because this could actually be a race. We may see a top driver get hit with too many incident points and get disqualified.
Well, one of our most consistent drivers, Brendan Lynn, was the one who got into that incident. He now has toe damage. He's going to have to take it to the pits and get some major repairs going for the driver. Jacob Reed, look at him trying to make a move here on Logan Edwards, thinking about the inside move, can't get it done. Aitor Sintes Galindo is also into the pits. I don't believe, doesn't look like he has that much damage. So I'm not sure why he's in the pits, possibly because he was on qualifying fuel?
No, he does have a meatball flag, and I think you'll find he was one of the last stragglers that caught up in that Reed, and yet damage straight to the wheel. And if you get hit hard by the wheel, you know what that means? That's going to be suspension damage. And his race is unfortunately over, not on his own picking. This is Javier Del Olmo in the orange. This is Justin Hiroda in the red and white. That is Jacob Reed. Behind them, Logan Edwards just trying to catch up. And you can see with the high speeds, they're trying to make the move. Hiroda tried to find a move there, but it's tough against a former champion like Javier Del Olmo. Maybe a move into Sachsenring Cup. Del Olmo goes for the defense. The over-under is technically here if you're Dustin Hiroda, but you can see he's not making it. He's got to keep his eyes on the left right now, because here comes Jacob Reed. He'll take that right in to the Queckenberg curve.
Hiroda took a look at Del Olmo and took an unoptimal line through the penultimate corner. That allowed Jacob Reed to take the optimal line through the final corner, and that gave him the opportunity to take that inside away from Hiroda. Hiroda now has to hang out behind Reed, as Reed now puts the challenge to Del Olmo. They're 5 seconds behind Even Platten, who's 7 seconds behind Adrias Valenteus, our leader and a driver who has not lost this season when he's gotten into a GTP.
Yeah, this is an amazing season for him. But let's look at Doug Cloud. He's trying to make his run back up the field, and he's been battling Roman Bello and almost come together in the rear, and he pulls out of it. That could have been very nasty. You just see Jorge Gonzaga come right by with Matthew Cockerham. They're having a little scrap as well, but Doug really trying to hold this on, and you can see, we talked about it before at the start of the race, Adam, these GTOs do not like flowing track, and you can just see how almost at a standstill they are when the GTPs are like, well, what's wrong with you? I can go through. Why can't you go this speed?
Yeah, because it's nearly impossible. These soapboxes, they don't turn very well. They were notorious understeer because of the four-wheel drive and just the nature of the way that the car is built. It's not built to have a ton of camber on the front, so it means that you can't turn the car very easily. It's all just based on pure instinct. And look at the drivers behind. Those four GTPs absolutely streaking towards the GTOs here. This is Ben Summers, battling with Byron Long and Lance Simon, as well as one of our laps. Look at how close it is, and at this corner, multiple points of contact.
Yeah, Lance Simon, I think he kind of overshot himself there a little bit and almost went into the side of, I think that was Matthias Platt. Also caught Byron Young, Ben Summers as well. And you'll see Summers right here. He's got Byron Long to his right, and Long's going to take that position. But they'll come around Coca-Cola curve the first corner. Side by side goes Long and Simon, but there's Josh Brain right ahead of them, who gets the move. There's nowhere to go, and you can see with that mistake there from Long, there is nowhere to go for that switchback. That's what I said, Adam. You've got to make the move early because these GTOs need that corner.
Summers makes it through with no damage, even though there was a little bit of contact there. So, fortunately for all of these drivers, he's able to make it through. Valenteus still 7 seconds ahead of Even Platten in the lead of the GTPs. It'll leave the GTOs under a second between Joran Van Hixie and Andreas Schuster. That's our close battle there. You see a driver coming out of the pits from the GTOs. Pits aren't going to be a very familiar thing for many of these drivers. And so it's, oh my goodness, I'm watching Doug Cloud, Lance Simon, Romain Bello, and Ben Summers try to navigate through this series of corners, and many of these drivers struggling. It looks like Franciszek Jarzembowski has had an incident as well.
Yeah, let's go to the GSRC replay. This would be Byron Long. And this is what I was talking about earlier. You come out of Coca-Cola curve, it's a right-hander, into a left, into a right-hander. But look how tight Josh Brain has to take that line, because that is the racing line. And Byron thinks he can go into that gap. The gap's always gone. It's not closed. It's already gone. And he just tried to make a move realized he couldn't make it. By the time he was on the grass, had nowhere else to go and was lucky not to collect anybody else then.
Seamus Power just made it past Dylan, or rather Dylan Freckleton just made it past Seamus Power. Seamus fairly slow on the track at this stage. Last lap was on pace with the rest of the drivers, but he just lost about 4 seconds in this middle sector alone. So Seamus Power starting to fall back just a little bit, possibly overheating those tires. Up ahead in third position, Javier Del Olmo and Jacob Reed. Jacob Reed's catching up to the back of Del Olmo. Del Olmo, a previous champion both in the GTPs and the GTOs, trying to catch himself up to even platinum, but he's lost 1.5 seconds over the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think the traffic, though, isn't helping him. They've got Dremsky right ahead of them. And again, just look at where Dremsky has to go. What's the age-old rule? GTOs have to track out. And that is what happened. And Javier picked that up pretty well right off the bat, being a former GTO champion. And now flat out through this little section and down into this quick right-hander kink. Really getting well there with Hamilton Smith just being on the outside. But now they get slowed down. Real good work here from Del Olmo, but has he overcooked it going around the outside? No, because Jacob Reed got held up trying to go on the inside there of Fulton Pollock. Again, these drivers don't know where to go here, Adam. This is testing the waters week for them.
Just a reminder that the GTOs have been told and have relayed multiple times that they're going to run their lines, and that's where the GTPs are expecting them to go. You saw Jacob Reed try and take that inside away from Thorben Pollock as he went by. Thorben Pollock was a little bit confused because of where Javier Del Olmo was. He couldn't see him outside his outside his windshield. So he took the line a little bit shallow. That held up Jacob Reed a little bit. Here we're looking at our leaders, Jorn Van Hixie and Andreas Schuster. Schuster's been playing it very safe with the traffic and has been allowing Van Hixie to get a little bit of a gap. I believe that Schuster thinks he's got the race pace on Van Hixie.
I would hope so as well, but these guys have literally been playing survival mode. Let's wait for the opportunity to come later in the race, because we know this is going to be the one moment they need, because there's no point to make a move. And did I just see, I'm just looking at the GTPs, did I just see Javier Del Olmo get attacked with Sam Skogard? Yes, I did. Jacob Reed as well getting held up as well, but this is Schuster battling away with Van Hixie. Look at that, fastest lap by 2/10 for Schuster. He definitely has that pace out there today. Just gonna have to be careful, wait your time, and maybe the multi-class may help him get that lead back.
Yeah, that incident with Del Olmo took away the high-speed apex from Skosgard, and Skosgard had already committed, so there was nowhere for Skosgard to go. That's what led to the contact, and Del Olmo now has left rear wing damage, unfortunately, so he's now got to be a little bit slower and a little bit more susceptible to Reed. Schuster now putting the heavy pressure on Van Hixie on screen. Look at him slide through the corner. A beautiful line through there, absolutely flowing. Van Hixie trying to hold off the native.
Trying to hold off the native. When we were getting ready to do so, let's look at the GSRC replay just quickly. This was Javier Del Olmo. I'll get back to my talk in a moment. This is the incident in question. Just ignore the car just off in the gravel there. As we just see, he's trying to catch on. He realizes that door's already closing, and he gets hit. And there Skogard goes wide, and Reed has to hold up. They are back together once again. But you've got to feel, as I was saying, we were learning this track by watching Porsche Cup cars come around here, so that gave us a really good idea about the GTO. You don't see Formula cars around here. You don't see downforce cars like this. This is a real dive here that no one knows how these cars interact and react to the track. So really, this is going to be a trial by fire for some of these drivers, have they not done any races this week. As you see, that wing damage is really starting to play havoc for Javier Del Olmo.
Absolutely. It's affecting him to the tune of 7 miles an hour. Look at this. That is Jacob Reed going around the outside, and he's going to try and go around the outside of the whole corner, but unfortunately the gravel on the outside is making it a problem. Future iRacing updates are going to make that even more of an issue for our drivers, as they're going to be able to place gravel on the outside of the corners before the race even begins. Look at the GTPs snaking their way through those GTOs. You can see that's Jacob Reed just being very patient, but he's being too patient. Dustin Heroder is now closing in and becoming part of this battle.
I don't think that was Jacob being too patient. That was Jacob thinking that car of Van Hixie is going to go away from the curb earlier than he thought. He did not. There's Mickey Friesen getting overtaken from Seamus Power, and Seamus Power in his own little fight with Dylan Freckleton right here. If they can catch up, which is a big ask, they're 3 seconds or 4 seconds away, they might be able to get into this fight, but you can just see the trials and tribulations. If these guys all get through unscathed, that will allow Schuster to make a move, but you saw it as well. This could be a good opportunity for Schuster to take the lead back in the GTOs.
Yes, Schuster going to the outside of Van Hixie. Van Hixie very defensive. There they are on screen. That three-way GTP battle that we just saw just went by these drivers and is actually what held up Van Hixie, gave Schuster the opportunity. But Van Hixie very defensive, makes Schuster try and go around the outside with the descent that comes through turn 1. Not possible. Schuster's going to have to try a different way. If Van Hixie continues to be that defensive, he's going to have to surprise Van Hixie. Schuster is. It's going to be a real challenge, but Jacob right on the back of Javier Del Olmo as well. So multiple battles on track happening, and Del Olmo has lost a lot of ground to even Platten due to that downward force. And here we go. Here's the move. Reed's going to use Scary as a pick and gets it done. Scary didn't know where to go, and Jacob Reed should be free and clear now.
Should be free and clear, but what about Dustin Hirota right behind? There's Dustin Hirota. Could be interesting to see what he can do later on in this race. Javier will have to rely on this slipstream to keep him with Jacob, and that may be his best way to try and salvage a podium here today, is follow Jacob. And I don't mean that literally. If Jacob goes and plows the car off, he shouldn't follow him with the plowed car, but he needs that slipstream, and he's already losing a bit of time. You've got to feel it's not just the speed he's lost with that wing damage, but now it's this newer damage model. You've also got to feel that he may lose a little bit of handling, and I dare say it, a little bit of ground effect.
Absolutely. The more damage you collect on these vehicles, especially with the new damage model, it's a lot more realistic than it used to be. That's as close as it gets around the outside.
Yeah, that's almost like the inverse of trying to scrape the wall on a street track right here. Hirota's really pushing hard on Javier Del Olmo. He can probably see Javier has got that bent wing right now and realizes that he has to get past sooner rather than later, of way he's going to have issues. This is Jorge Gonzaga, who has been on the radio. He's had some issues as well. Stephanie Leslie getting past him, and Matthew Cockerham's right behind. And again, Leslie really understanding what needs is in the GTOs here today. He goes around the outside, gives them the space, and then comes back into the inside when it's open.
3 wide across the line between Dylan Freckleton, Seamus Power, Matthias Hovdahl. Who's going to get the advantage into turn 1? Seamus Power takes a late break, but Freckleton goes even later. Too late. It's Seamus Power with the over-under, but it swatches to the outside. He's going to have to hold strong around the outside here, and he does so. He forces Freckleton to give him the room. In F1, he would have been ushered off the track, but not here in IMSA Vintage. Here they give space.
This is sports car racing, Adam, not Formula racing. A little bit of a hip track there from Freckleton, and unfortunately Seamus has had to yield that position. It's tough to go side by side through that whole section at Castro Omega, just because of the nature of what the speed is. On the 007 count we go, and now Dylan has to try and pull ahead. It's going to be tough. That's Seamus Power. That is last season P2 in the championship. He is not a pushover, and a big wreck. Javier Del Olmo has got around. He's in the wall.
Huge incident. The entire front of the car's ripped off the front left tire as well. Oh my goodness, Del Olmo out of the race.
Oh, that's such a shame. He was trying to do around the outside on a GTO. We'll see that later on as we got to watch these drivers go through once again. Is there a chance for another free wide? There isn't this time, but you've got to feel that anything can happen. Here's the GSRC replay. This is Javier Del Olmo. He's coming to this little kink before the back straight. He has the right there. I feel he is right to go around the outside there, but was the GTO just unaware? It did feel like you're the expert here when it comes to GTOs. That felt like that move should have been on for Javier.
Possibly, but the issue is that the GTO is tracking out, and if the GTO is slightly unaware, you're going to run into that issue. The GTOs also go over that curb there on the exit, so that's going to be the challenge. Here's Stefan Leslie trying to hold off a charging Laust Olsen on his recovery drive. Laust, unfortunately, has not made up the ground he would want to. He's +8 since he made the incident, but that's not a lot of ground for sure. Brendan Lim has gotten back on track, but unfortunately, the car is not well repaired. He's likely going to pull it over and park it at the end of this lap. But Laust Olsen, not the day he was hoping for. He had a decent qualifying, but unfortunately that early spin put him back in 20th, 6 seconds behind the rest of the pack, and he's now trying to recover. Matthias Hovdahl still trying to put pressure on Seamus Powers. Dylan Freckleton has run away.
Yeah, Dylan Freckleton got away. Is Seamus the cork in the champagne bottle? I don't think so. This is still drivers trying to learn the track and learn optimal lines. So Hovdahl now is just going to have to wait for a moment here. Maybe look again but with the traffic constantly happening, and let's be real, they are constantly beating traffic because even Dylan Freckles ahead of them is getting held up by that GCO we just saw in the camera there. So anything can happen around here. This really is a traffic taken away. That is hard to say when you're trying to go through this thought process.
Absolutely. So Hovdal pushed a little bit wide there by Thorben Pollock, trying to make sure that he avoided him. So looks like Hovdal's got a little bit of a tight machine today. Usually he tends to run loose, but I guess with all the flowing corners, he didn't want to risk it today, risk a snap loose scenario. So car's a little tighter than he would like. Javi Del Olmo, 2 minutes to the bad with that crash that he had, unfortunately. So in the pits and getting his repairs done. Even Platten, 13 seconds behind Andres Valenteus at this stage. Unless Valenteus makes a mistake, he's more or less free and clear. No one else has the race pace for him and hasn't this entire season. Hovdal taking a look at Emilio Dakar. He's going to swap over to the preferred line on the left. He takes the right, and look at this. That's Sam Skosgard trying to go to the apex, and Seamus Power said, never mind, I'm going through right now.
Yeah, that is a definition of an excuse me corner there from Seamus, and I think he just said excuse me and managed to get through. Lost a little bit of time though, as Hadval is catching up to him, but they are losing time to Dylan Freckleton up ahead. I say that Freckleton then gets held up in traffic, so the ebbs and flows, and again, it's happening in this middle section. And you've got to feel, Adam, this middle section is really nice for racing, but when you add two classes together, it really does feel like oil and water out there for some of these drivers, because it really has just been a bane for a lot of cars out there today. Here's Lars Olsen. Remember, he started 12th. He is 12th. It's not a bad recovery, but it's, as you were saying, it's not where he wants to be.
No, and here's Hovdal trying to put pressure on Seamus Power. Seamus getting held up by Romain Bello, and now they've got Doug Cloud to go around. Fortunately for Doug, it's a straightaway, so that should mean he doesn't get hit by a GTP this time around this week. So all the GTBs able to get by. They're right on the back of Freckleton again because of the traffic, and we've got the battle between, well, it's not a battle. It's Ove Trenger trying to overtake the slow Sandro Scurry, who has been holding up a lot of the GTO leaders. And look at this, an opportunistic move from Hovdal at the inside of Seamus, trying to get this done, and he's going to be able to sneak by because the lanes are going to close up, and that forces Seamus Power to back out.
Yeah, I think Scurry was trying to get out the way, and that's sometimes not the best thing to do. And on such a tight track and a tight part of the track as well, not really what the drivers wanted to see. And unfortunately, it did cost Seamus a position. But you've got to feel with the way the traffic's been going, he could try and get it back again. I say that, he almost went into the back of Michael Yankee in the background. It could happen, but never say never at the moment. It's just so tough out there. And it's just crazy, these closing speeds that these GTPs and GTOs have. By the way, do you know about the Black Friday sale? We have talked about it. 25% off, 1 or 2 year subscription. New users, 50% off. With everything coming later on in the update, later on in the year, it is one of the best times to be subscribed, once again, to iRacing.
And everyone, force feedback updates in the future as well. So not this coming build, but it's on the roadmap, so definitely keep that in mind. It goes through December 2nd, so definitely jump on that while you have the opportunity. It's the best sale of the year for iRacing. Hovdal still putting pressure on Freckleton. He has been able to get up to the back of Freckleton due to the traffic, and he's not letting go. Another thing we're keeping our eyes on is the lead in the GTOs. The lead in the GTOs, the top three are under 2 seconds now. Van Hixie, Schuster, and Friesen, they're equidistant, so if the traffic causes any issues for our leader, both Schuster and Friesen are going to be on the back of Van Hixie, and that could mean that Friesen might have an opportunity at a win to, I mean, how crazy would it be 2 in a row?
Well, remember, they call it London Busted. That's a car going the wrong way around him, though. I'm a little bit confused there what Brendan Lynn was doing, but trying to get around the outside, didn't get a slowdown. It's like London Busted if Mickey Friesen wins. You wait for 1, you get 2. Maybe that could be the day, but for that to happen, I think he's going to have to hope for some luck on his side, and we don't really want to see that sort of luck out there for a driver. Van Hixen and Schuster have been driving very carefully, very cautiously, and actually methodically as well, come to say those careful words. Friesen is really a bit frustrated out there. You can see, usually he is a stone face out there. To see him pull that move of his lips, that's him understanding that, yeah, maybe I don't have it here today.
I don't know. He's been able to gain on these leaders over the last 20 minutes. We're down to under 14 minutes to go. This race has been pretty insane. It seems challenging for the drivers to do the multi-class here, but not the end of the world necessarily. The drivers have been able to navigate this fairly efficiently over the course of the race. Another battle to keep an eye on, second position in the GTPs. Even Platten and Jacob Reed separated by only 1.2 seconds right now. And Seamus Power and Matthias Hovdahl. Hovdahl has fallen off the back of Freckleton due to the traffic, and Power up the inside trying to make this work. Hovdahl strong on the outside, retains.
Yeah, retains once again. Seamus almost going on the grass. They're doing a Tony Kanaan, making an overtake on the grass and get past the lap car of Ben Summers. But he lost a little bit of time there, lost a bit of traction, maybe also just too much cooling off the tires, and that could affect him hard, braking down into Coca-Cola curve, and that looked like a lock-up and a bit of a slide for Mateus there. Well, that could help him. There is another lap GTP ahead, which is Lance Simon. This is something they weren't factoring in today, lapped GTPs as well as overtaking the GTO. Simon lets himself go by. They'll have a little battle with Ben Summers later on. However, this is still going, and they come out into Stunquell, down into Cup Allen. There is one GTO. There are two GTPs ahead, though, because Dylan Freckleton is trying to get past Logan Edwards.
Logan Edwards is trying to hang on. Freckleton made a nice, assertive move there, and Logan just had to put the power down and pray that the car gripped on the curb. A good job to hold off Freckleton, but this means that Freckleton is going to start to get held up here by Edwards, who's 4 seconds behind her rotor and falling. So this might give an opportunity for Hovdahl and Power to close up to the back. If I was in Power's shoes, I might even back off a little bit and give Hovdahl the opportunity to look forward and catch up to these two since they're battling.
Well, let's just see what Dylan's doing. He's done some really good late braking around Coca-Cola curve. He actually tried to make this move around the outside, and the respect was given, and the respect was gone, and Logan lost control of the car a little bit, and Dylan set that up perfectly. Is there a response from Edwards? There is not. That's great for Dylan Freckleton. For Logan Edwards, he's now going to have to look backwards because he's got rid of one purple car. He's now going to have a purple, orange, pink, and white car right behind him in Matthias Hadbaum.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Hovdahl and Power, Freckleton's speed should carry him away, and Logan Edwards, he made a mistake through turn one, but his defense of Freckleton earlier means that he's got decent pace, and he's catching up to the back of Freckleton again. I think he might have a little bit less wing than the rest of the drivers, which is making it more challenging for him through the slower corners.
It could be. It could be. It could just be a case of just the way the overspeed is working out here today. One to keep an eye on, but we'll see on the straight now. This could be really interesting. Can Freckleton hold on to this? It'll be interesting to see on the 00 camera. It is. I don't think it's a wing. It does look like it is a little bit of speed. I'll tell you what is close, though. Ivan Platon has really had to get on the defense right now as he comes through traffic, because he's got Jacob Reed right behind him. So the battle for P2 has started to really shape up in the GTPs. At the same time, the battle for P2 in the GTOs continues. So we've got battles in the top podium spots for both classes right now with 10 minutes to go.
Absolutely. Even Platinum P2 in the GTPs with Jacob Reed P3. There you see Jacob tucked in behind Even Platinum. And that's going to be the green and yellow of Jacob Reed. Shiny paint scheme trying to catch up to the back of that multicolored aquamarine, Even Platinum up ahead of him. And as they go by fourth place, Michael Janke. Michael, having a good start of this race, got passed by Friesen, and Friesen has never looked back. In fact, and Janke decided not to look back either and went straight on in turn one. Looks like he's trying to recover. It doesn't look like he got any damage, but just late braking for him is going to put him even further off the back of Friesen.
He realized right away, and he started to get hard on the brakes, and he just locked up, had a bit of a slide, corrected the slide, held it, but he had nowhere to go but the gravel trap. And this is interesting right now. That's Mickey Friesen trying to battle Andreas Schuster. Right behind will be Even Platon and Jacob Reed coming by. P2 and P3 battling P2 and P3 at the same time. And you can just see that Reed gets held up. No! He's in the wall, no! He stays open. What damage is there? Van Hickey has been hit there from Even Platon.
Oh my goodness, so the leaders of the GTOs cannot get a break the last 2 weeks. This happened last week too. And now Heavy pressure from Schuster, who's going to try and get through. Schuster is the one who fell afoul of this last week, and that allowed Friesen to run away with the win. Now Van Hixie gets contact, and now he's under heavy pressure from Schuster. How much damage does Van Hixie have? How brave is he going to be on the brakes into one?
He has got wing damage. He has got damage to the rear right of the car, as I call it the rear driver's side, but I'm British. But he has got damage. Can he hold on? Because these are cheese blocks. These are soapboxes. Use every prerogative you need, the relative you need. He just needs to hold on. Thankfully, because of the nature of this track, speed is not the name of the game for these GTOs. He may get a lifeline, but the lifeline was the fact that Platon hit him a second time that made sure he didn't lose control and spin out. Anything can happen. We're 8 minutes left. That also allowed Reed to get by. This is the replay once again. And I've got to say, this is on Platon because the GTOs, they have to go that way. That actually nose damage for Platon. I never called that.
Major nose damage for Platon and some major right rear damage for Van Hixie. But fortunately for Van Hixie, it's not the old damage model. The old damage model would have meant that he would have lost some drive in that right rear, which would have offset the balance of the car. As it is with the new damage model, it's just a fender crunch, which means he's going to have some aerodynamic damage. But around this track, that's not really going to matter that much for Van Hixie. Here is Stefan Leslie letting Dustin Heroder go by up the inside. Van Hixie's getting caught out a little bit by the confusion, and this is given an opportunity to Schuster once again. Van Hixie, a fairly defensive line. He's got to let Dylan Freckleton go by, who's trying to catch up to Dustin Heroder, and so no opportunity for Schuster this time. Friesen, though, very close behind as well, only 8/10 back as he's trying to get up to these guys, and he's trying to let P5 through P8 go by him as well.
I just noticed how bad the damage is for Van Hixie. The Audi badge is off the rear of the car. On the rear engine plate, or the rear plate, there is an Audi badge. He got hit hard enough that took the car off. And I tell you what, Andreas Schuster almost just got taken out from Handball Power as they come through. That's Handball Power, and then another GTP, a lap GTP coming by. All of a sudden, what looked to be a pretty calm race for the GTOs has just got a little bit confused up there. This is our closest battle in the GTPs, with Power trying to battle Handball with Logan Edwards ahead. But for the GTOs, almost every battle right now is close.
Absolutely. We have battles for the lead between the top three. We have battle between Michael Yankee and Ove Trangrade. That one's heating up. And Doug Cloud's tucked into that one, so it's a three-way fight as well for P4. And then we've got a battle between Emilio Takari and Matthias Platz down there for the last of the top 10 positions as well. So lots of battles going on. Schuster with a good run onto the front straightaway once again. But look at that. No loss of power for Van Hixie on that right rear. He got away with it for the most part, except for the fact that it brought Schuster back into his rear bumper. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether Schuster is what he's going to try here in the closing 6 minutes of this race.
Johan Van Hixie with the lead, with damage. Where have I seen this before? He somehow finds a way when that car is battered, beaten, and bruised. He finds a way. He's going to have to find 5 more minutes to see what he can do. As we're on board once again with Andreas Schuster, the near hometown boy. This is his closest track. He really feels at home here, and you can see it. He's putting on a fantastic drive today, but it's going to be tough because the question is, where do you make the overtake here? If you're a GTO, there's not a lot of opportunities. Maybe in a minute when the track turns right, there'll be a small straight. Nowhere for him to go. He's not even close enough. It is going to have to be a multi-class moment here to try and get him the lead.
Friesen is almost there, but he's got these GTPs that are navigating their way through. This is not the cleanest pass through that we've seen. And Lance Simon and Ben Summers, the front GTP and the back GTP are in a battle. And then Brendan Lim, who's in between, is actually laps down from the GTO leaders who are going through here. And the GTO leaders now equidistant from each other. Let's take a look at what happens here with Brendan Lim.
Yeah, this is Brendan Lim trying to come through. That is sounds go yard! Trying to get through. I thought he actually made that avoidance, but obviously a netcode detection hit there. And that's such a shame. And yet that's the closing distance around here, Adam. It's just so tough just to even try to make your moves there. And I just want to talk about GTPs one more time. Breaking news about our leader. We've not talked about him. He had to serve a slowdown. He's still 17 seconds ahead.
That's classic. Mickey Friesen is on the back of our leaders. The leaders now separated only by 1.2 seconds between the three of them. Another battle that is equally as close as the battle for P4. Tucked in behind Michael Yankees, Ove Trangrate, and Doug Cloud, they're also separated by 1.2 seconds. So the top 6 all in battles as Logan Edwards goes around in his GTP. He does not have any damage, just a small spin in turn 1. He gets back going and recovers to 8th.
Yeah, I think the only damage will be his pride. He just lost it there going through Coca-Cola Curve, but these drivers will have to get there shortly. And now the question isn't can Schuster get past Van Hixie, it's can Friesen get past Schuster. He's really getting close now, really putting the times in, but with 3 minutes left, he's only got 3 laps to do it. He matched times with Schuster last time by. As we look at Logan Edwards, again, I talked about how the curves were flat. Well, they are flat. But when you ride them like that, they're not flat. And that, unfortunately, what happened to Logan, just taking a bit too much curve. You can't really do that in the GTPs. A GTO, take as much curve as you want.
All right, Mickey Friesen, if you've got any tires left, now is the time. 2 minutes and 40 seconds left with traffic coming. 5 seconds behind. That's going to be here in about 3 or 4 corners time. This is the opportunity for Friesen. He has to make sure that he navigates the GTPs effectively and forces them to put a bad position for Schuster and Van Hixie. And oh, it didn't happen. My goodness. Jorge Gonzaga goes by, and that cut off Friesen from the apex, but he's now going to late break here. Schuster gets his apex taken away by Matthew Cockrum, who's battling Gonzaga. Here comes Jacob Reed in second position, and Laus Olsen, who is battling with Cockrum and Gonzaga, and they've got Javier Del Olmo, a lap GTP as well, but they're going to have some issues with the breaking into one now for our leaders in the GTOs, because Van Hixie and Schuster are going to have to deal with GTPs up the inside and at the apex. Friesen has an opportunity. Here goes Schuster to the apex early, and it looks like Van Hixie and Schuster have navigated that fairly efficiently. 1:40 to go on the clock for these drivers.
I had a jump scare. I'm not going to lie. I had a jump scare there. Gonzaga came out of nowhere, and I think Friesen was even surprised how he came, where he came from. He lost a little bit of time, gained a little bit of time. That is traffic for you, the ebbs and the flows. That battle between Doug Cloud and Ove Trangrate is not happening at the moment. It's a free car battle with Michael Yankee. Don't need to look at that right now. This is all that mattered. Can Friesen find his way through? These 3 drivers have been dominating GTO really ever since Javier Del Olmo took a break and decided to drive a prototype, and that's why for Van Hixie, he's holding on. This feels like, Adam, and I'm really throwing an old favorite out of here, this is like a Trulli train. This is the Van Hixie train, and I think everyone's happy.
Yeah, we haven't really seen this since we had the Glacier Racing versus Dirty Torque days, like, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years ago? But Andres Valenteius has taken the white flag with 35 seconds left to go on the clock. So these drivers are on their final lap, and Valenteius is actually off track. But fortunately, he had 17 seconds of buffer, so he only loses about 5 and gets back on track and is going to continue going towards the win like nothing happened.
Something happened? No one saw it. No one saw it. If a Valenteius goes off the track and no one saw it, does it count? Possibly, but we'll wait and see. He's just got a few more corners to navigate. A great drive, and it really has just been a quiet day at the office for him. Who can stop Valenteius? Can it be Jacob Reed? Can it be Eric Neve? They've been the closest this season. It's still hard. No one can catch this man.
And by close, we mean many seconds behind. I think the closest gap was 7 seconds this year. But Andres Valenteius crosses the line. It's right there on the crest of the hill, right at the front of the straightaway. And he's going to finish this race and win today. Jacob Reed is going to hold on to a very distant second. 12.5 seconds back, with Ivan Platten another 12.5 seconds back for third. The lead in the GTOs has broken up significantly due to GTP traffic. So there is Ivan Platten going by. Our GTOs coming through the final corners now is Joram Van Hixie. He made a pass early on Andreas Schuster, and ever since then he has not looked back. Joram Van Hixie takes the win in the GTOs with Schuster second and Friesen a good points day in third.
Great recovery from Friesen. He started fifth. He did not have a good time in qualifying, and now he can take a breather. It's Stoneface. It's Stoneface. Sorry, Mickey. I love you. It's absolutely Stoneface out there. But he'll take a P3. Really good showing there. He loses a little bit of points there to Van Hixie in the championship. But the key thing is he didn't lose a lot out there. Other close battles at the end of the day. Doug Cloud could not get past over Trengarade. And unfortunately, we did see that Roman Bello was unable to make that fight as well. Real good battle. Mateus Platt is going to have the last fight here. Try to get past Emilio Dicciari. Not a lot of places to make those moves at the end of the day.
No. And so that's going to take us to our results here, starting with the GTPs. Andres Valenteus takes yet another commanding victory. He is undefeated in the GTPs this season. Our leader in the GTP Championship extends his lead by another 25 points. Jacob Reed, second position, 12 points back with Ivan Platt, and another 12 points back of Jacob Reed finishes out the rostrum. Then we've got Dustin Hiroder, second position in the championship. He's going to lose some more points today, finishing in fourth today, with Dylan Freckleton in fifth position. Seamus Power down in sixth. Matthias Hovdahl, after spinning on the penultimate lap in the final corner, passes Logan Edwards, who spun on the final lap in the final corner, and is able to retain seventh. Logan Edwards in eighth, with Alan Brito in ninth position, and Jorge Gonzaga, even after that scary moment with Matthias Hovdahl, with Mickey Friesen on the penultimate lap, finishes in 10th spot. 11th goes to Matthew Cockrum, with Laust Olsen only able to recover to his starting position to 12th position. Stefan Leslie in 13th and Lance Simon in 14th. Ben Summers, the last driver to realistically finish effectively, finishes in 15th down there, 2 laps down, with Javier Del Olmo, after his early incident, somehow recovering to 16th even after that crash, which is insane. Brendan Lim finishes in 17th, 10 laps down. And then our drivers who had major issues: Byron Long, Aitor Sintes Galindo. And I want to give a moment for Bjorn Ackerman. He stated that he's not going to be renewing at the end of this month. It's been great to have you in this series, Bjorn, and you will be missed. And we're sorry to see you go. We hope you'll reactivate at a future Black Friday sale. That is our GTPs. What about the GTOs, Craig?
Yeah, we're going to miss you, Bjorn. But anyway, to the GTOs. We'll get on that track later. Van Hixie did win. The gap was less than a second, but it was close after that incident. And Mickey Friesen not recovering, but making a drive up the field to third position. Michael Yankee gets to fourth, and Ove Trengarade with fifth. Doug Cloud will be sixth, with Roman Bello in seventh. Josh Brain will be eighth. Ninth will be Emilio Dicciari. Mateus Platt will be 10th. And then one last driver will be on the front. On the lead lap will be Fulton Pollock in 11th. And everyone is a lap down or more, with Sam Skogard in 12th. Hamill Smith 13th. Francis Jelensky was also a lap down in 14th. Mark Gamak finished 2 laps down. Thando Skerry was free. Kai Hansen, we saw 22 laps down, retired early. And as I was saying there, I do apologize with the wording there, but Bjorn, we are going to miss you. It's been fantastic seeing you race. We hope to see you later down in the road.
Well, that was a crazy race, Craig. The first time we've ever visited Sachsenring. What are your thoughts going after that race? There was a lot of incidents, but a lot cleaner, honestly, than I was expecting.
I think we can all say that was a lot cleaner. That there were some big incidents. We have to talk about the big incidents. That they are what they are. And we do see that a lot around here. The age-old adage of the GTOs have to take their line and have to track out. It really got tested today, with some drivers taking a bit too much leeway. But it also just goes to show that the series is evolving as well. Yet again, more new drivers, and with new drivers inexperienced. Not a knock at the drivers. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way, and unfortunately, the hard way may be causing a crash. But there are moments in these cars that you cannot do that you could do in a modern day LMP2, GT3. You just have to keep on just grinding there. So it's going to be interesting, because now it's not a new track. It's an old staple favorite next week, Adam. We're going back to Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen, the classic boot, and it's going to be a great race out there. This is also a 13-week season, so we get an extra race in there for these drivers. There you see some of the battles going on that happened during the race in the GTOs. But Craig, this has been a pretty crazy season, and we've got some interesting championships going on. Valenteus, though, completely uncontested at the front of the GTP field. But Mickey Friesen is in a really good position to finish this season out strong.
Mickey Friesen, consistency is key. but then also getting that win kind of helps him as well. You think Mickey Friesen all season has been on the podium except for one race. And I know Van Hixie's done the same except for 2 races. Noel Lundberg the same apart from 1 race. But just being here all the time, and it's what we say sometimes, in it to win it. Mickey Friesen's one of only 5 drivers in the top 10 to be in every race this season. He really is honing his craft out there. Really is enjoying the series, really is putting the time in as well. And it just goes to show, just be there. And you can be there. You can be here. And that's what we say to anybody if they want to try and drive around here.
Consistency is how I won my GTU championship, and a driver who's starting to rebuild that consistency is Laust Olsen. Laust, welcome back to the booth. Not the race you were hoping for today, but still a good recovery drive back up to 12.
Yeah, it was... it has been quite a frustrating week, to be honest. I didn't feel I found the pace I wanted, and then I had that spin in one of the first laps, putting me at the back of the field. But it was quite fun trying to drive up in the field. But then I got stuck behind Matthew and Joch, I think. I just really couldn't do anything there. I don't think I even was faster, but probably a little more lucky in traffic from time to time. So it was. I felt a little bit stuck, but that's how it is. But it was fun, and I'm hoping for better luck and better pace next week.
Yeah, next week is Watkins Glen, the classic boot layout. A favorite of this series. We go there fairly frequently, and it seems like we have good races every time. What are your thoughts heading into that week?
It's a well-known track, and I think I normally have quite good pace there. So I hope it's going to be better than this week, certainly.
Yeah, and a 13-week season means it's a little bit more endurance for all of us. It's a very unusual situation. We only get it every 2.5 years, so I think the last time we had it was the first season I raced in what was then Camel GT. Does that change how you approach the season, or do you just take it a week at a time?
Just taking a week at a time. I think I missed the first 5 weeks anyway, so for me, there's no championship to worry about. So it's just a week at a time and trying to do my best.
Well, Laust, it's great to talk to you as always. Great to see you back out there on the track, and we look forward to seeing you next week at Watkins Glen.
Thanks, I'll look forward to it too.
That was Laust Olsen, who finished in 12th today. We have Aitor Sintes Galindo, who did not have the day that he was hoping for. He wrecked out early, and he's with Craig.
Yeah, with Aitor today, and Aitor was not the race for you. I thought you got through that wreck, and then we saw you going into the pits. Looks like you got a little bit unlucky with that crash there with Brendan Lim early.
Yeah, I mean, I tried my best to avoid that incident, but I was had literally tens of seconds to react to that. I reacted in time, but that wasn't enough. So that was unfortunate. But to be fair, it's a kind of incident that I expected to have this week. So it's a shame actually. Well, it is what it is. Chin up and move for the next week. Fortunately, I have plenty of drop weeks. I have both of them. So we'll be 12 points in the end. And moving on to next week.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought this would have been a track that would have suited you. It's kind of like Jerez with the flowing corners, but it wasn't to be for you today. But you keep saying moving on to next week. Let's bring up Watkins Glen. Everyone talks about it. Everyone loves it. Now, for those that haven't seen IMSA Vintage at Watkins Glen, you are the perfect spokesman to tell us, what do we expect at Watkins Glen?
Well, good question, actually. You will expect the same thing, and the S's will be a graveyard. I will assure you. I think I've been like 6 or 7 times. I've been here for years, but 6 or 7 times, and I think I had incidents in every race at the SS. I think I killed I wrecked the leader of the GTOs. I was over turn grader back then. I remember that. So yeah, we'll have to see. 60 minutes as well. I think that's good because after the repavement thing. The track got much faster, and the GTVs don't have enough fuel to do a 40-minute race. So that's good. We have strategies. We have big windows, no more fuel saving. So yeah, we'll have to see. Fortunately, it's less pressure thanks to this rack. Besides having. Aldridge showing up 3 weeks in a row, so that's 3 wins. So yeah, that's a lot for the championship. So yeah, less pressure for the championship, but yeah, more focus on having fun for next week.
Aitor, you have basically hyped up everything for us next week without us having to do anything. I love you so much. Thank you for coming in, Aitor. It was fantastic to see you once again. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Well, as usual, thanks guys for the broadcast, interviews, and family friends for watching. And yeah, thanks guys. See you next week at Watkins Glen.
Thank you very much, Aitor. That was car number 13. Had all the bad luck today. Finished 19th and retired. That was Aitor Sintes-Galindo.
And that's going to close us out. One more thing to mention before we go. Do not forget about that Black Friday sale. If you have never taken your dipped your toes into what iRacing is like and you are a racing enthusiast, there is affordable gear out there. Direct drive wheels have reached an all-new low-end price as well if you want to get the full experience. But any wheel that you have, grab that off the shelf. Get yourself that 50% off for that new membership and jump into the service. It is some of the best fun you can have and definitely the best racing simulator out there on the market today, especially when it comes to online and multiplayer racing. Don't miss out. Sale ends on December 2nd. I want to give a huge thank you to the team today. That's Craig, Christian, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As was well advertised by Aitor, Watkins Glen is next week. That's going to be November 16th at noon Eastern, our new time as we just broadcasted here. And be sure to check out other broadcasts listed here on your screen. We hope you've enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you. And we hope to see you back again soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.